Digens, welcome back to another episode of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS Podcast. This is episode number 19, I believe. It is Monday. We are in December. Hope everybody had a great weekend, ready for a new week, time to get some new money. We have 7 games today on the slate, so it shouldn't. Honestly, there's some decent looking games on the slate today, so let's go ahead and just jump right in and not waste any more time. Let's start with Oklahoma City traveling over to Detroit. Detroit -1 at home, 219 on the total. Not a whole lot to like in this game, except a few guys. Obviously, Russell Westbrook at 11.2 is just a little too high, but I don't know for this kind of game. And then what I'm kind of looking at, there's not really a whole lot to like. I kind of think you got to go kind of with a Westbrook and the Adams combo. Steven Adams at 6.4 has put up 32 or more in his last 12 of 13 games. He's put up 41, 36.3, and 42.3 in his last 3 road games. We know that Drummond will give up decent games to centers. Adams has not exactly been flourishing, but he's been very, very productive. I think this game fits Adams pretty decently. I think obviously it fits Russell very decently. So I think I'll be going more that route than PG-13. I just don't exactly love PG-13 in this spot, and plus he's just a little price too high. 8.6, 8.8, right around 9K. Like I said, I think I'm just going to be looking more at Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams. I think Steven Adams at 6.4 is just really too cheap for this kind of slate, and there's really not a whole lot of centers to love on this slate. So that's kind of where I'm looking. And for that reason, I don't believe that I'll be playing Drummond. I think I'd rather play Griffin more at 8.8. I think that's just kind of where I'll be going on with Detroit. I think Blake Griffin is in a little bit of a better spot than Drummond in this game. So I think I would probably rather pay for Griffin. We've done the numbers, and I know some guys in the SD Slack chat have even showed the numbers that Drummond typically plays better at home, better than Blake does. Usually Blake has average more fantasy points on the road. However, Griffin's just way more. I mean, I'm going to say he's way more consistent, but I mean, Drummond's been a beast this year too. So, I think that this spot I'm going to be going with Griffin. I think Reggie Jackson's still too cheap at 5.2. His numbers, or his price actually continues to go down. He's put up 28 or more in his last 5. 3 of those were over 33. It's not the greatest matchup against Westbrook here, but at 5.2 in this kind of a pace-up game, I know the total's not real high, but it's actually one of the higher totals on the board. I mean, they're all kind of right around each other, but it's fairly high for the slate. So Reggie Jackson at 5.2 should see over 30 minutes as long as this game stays competitive, and I will definitely be looking at Reggie Jackson at 5.2. Stanley Johnson has come alive lately. He's 3.7, he's put up 32 or more in his last 2 of 3. There's a good chance he's probably going to be all over PG-13. They usually deploy him on the best, like small forward shooting guard that the other team has. Stanley Johnson is pretty dang good at defense. Not saying that's the reason why I'm not playing PG-13. I just don't like the matchup for him here. But I will be looking at Stanley Johnson a little bit at 3.7. I think that's a fair price on him. He's, like I said, been doing very well lately. And that's kind of where I'm looking at in this game. That, like I said, there's not really a whole lot to like. Schroeder, he's going to have to deal up with a little bit of Ish Smith and a little bit of Reggie. I mean, I don't hate it, but if you want to go there, that's fine. Ish Smith even is decently fine, I guess, if you want to punt a point guard. Well, that's kind of where I'm going at in OKC and Detroit. I'm going to move right on to Golden State at Atlanta coming in. Warriors coming in at 10.5. Road faves, 232 on the total. Big total. I could see this one getting out of hand. As we know, the Hawks are not as good. I know everybody's laughing in Kerr's face, but what did everybody expect? He said he was going to be on, a decent minutes limit, and he played 37 minutes. So Curry, I'm talking about in his return. That's just, we should have known that already. And that's exactly why I'll probably be playing Curry. I mean, and that's funny is because I'll probably play Curry tonight at 9.5 K, just because it's such a cheap price on him, and especially for those kind of minutes in this matchup as well. But at 9.5 K, I think you can't afford to not play Curry, knowing that he just played 37 minutes. They did have a day to rest, so I think if he can play 37 minutes in, there's no reason why he can't play 35 plus again. But that's kind of, I guess we'll wait and see. But I guarantee you, he'll probably play 33 plus. So at 9.5 K, I believe I will be looking at some Curry. I think Clay's fine at 7.4, 32 plus in his last 2 road games. I think he's definitely worth playing tonight at that price. Cheap guy you can look at is Jerebko at 4.2K. He's played 23 and 33 minutes in the last 2 games. Yeah, that's right. 23 and 33 minutes. Draymond's still out. They're kind of shuffling in guys then and there, but Jerebko's been getting pretty decent run over the last 2 games. So at 4.2, I think you can maybe look at him as a cheapie. I don't think that I'm going to be paying for KD at his price. Even though this matchup does favor him quite well. If you want to go there, I'm totally fine with it, and I might even look more into that one later. But at the current time, I'm not rostering KD. I think I'm going to go with Curry at 9.5. For Atlanta, John Collins at 5.3. I will have some 30 plus minutes in his last 4 or 5 games. He's been putting up pretty good numbers. He had a 45-point game. Probably 3 games ago. He does have the upside. No Draymond again. So John Collins, I think, absolutely has a good matchup. Alex Len at 3.6K. Dwayne Dedmon is probable, but at the same time, Alex Len at 3.6. If he gets 20 minutes or even a smidge over, he can definitely crush that value. So Alex Len at 3.6, sure. Kent Bazemore at 4.6. He's due for one of those breakout games. He does have the upside. He really just hasn't been playing all that well lately. But they still rely on him quite a bit, even off the bench. I know they've been starting Kevin Huerter or whatever, and hey, maybe Bazemore's that spark they need off the bench. But at 4.6, he's still getting 25 plus minutes around that area. So I don't hate it at all. I don't believe that I will be on Trae Young, but he is getting the usage. He is, their top guy still. But I don't believe I'll be looking at him tonight. This is the highest total on the board at the moment, other than the Clippers and Pelicans by about 5 points. So I would definitely look into it, but I don't know. That's kind of where I'm looking. Excuse me, I got the runny nose this morning. It's weather changing around here. It's crazy. So we're moving on to the Cavaliers traveling over to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. The Nets are actually a 6-point home favorite here, 212 on the board. You have to love Tristan Thompson at 6.5K. That's just the center prices tonight are kind of ridiculous. Adams at 6.4, TT at 6.5. We know that centers are crushing him in Brooklyn. I even like Jared Allen at 5.5K. I think both of these centers are in play tonight for both teams. This is just ridiculous pricing. Let's see. Other than that, Clarkson at 5K I think is fine. George Hill's back, so he's kind of eating into. Actually, George Hill started last game at shooting guard, played 19 minutes. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, George Hill is starting. They're leaving Sexton in. I think they like that rotation at the point guard spot. Clarkson coming in, getting his usual 25 or so minutes, and then leaving Sexton in at the starting point guard spot. I still like Clarkson at 5K. I think he's still going to get his. Alec Burks at 3.8K. He's played 24 and 26 minutes in his last 2. I think he's the beneficiary getting the minutes right after George Hill. And George Hill is still kind of on that limit where he's probably not going to see more than 20 minutes for a minute. So Alec Burks at 3.8, and I don't hate 24 or 26 minutes, put up 22 and 32 fantasy points in those 2 games. He's definitely a cheap playable guard there. So Larry Nance Jr. at 5.1. He went back to the bench where he's kind of capped at his value. But at 5.1, if he still gets, 22 to 25 minutes, I would say he can definitely, hit value. It's kind of one of them things where you just it's an iffy play, but it's definitely preference call if you want to play that or not. Other than that, that's kind of what I'm at on Cleveland. TT, Clarkson, Burks, Nance, C.D. Osman. If you want to play some C.D. Osman, I have no problem with that. For Brooklyn, I think you got to look at D'Angelo Russell at 7.7, 46, 36, 62.5 in his last 3 at home. 7.7, I think, is a very fair price for DAR tonight. As I mentioned, Jared Allen at 5.5K. I'm definitely be looking at that as a cheap center option. I think he can exceed that value. DeMar Carroll at 3.9 played 42.5 minutes. No, he put up 42.5 fantasy points in their last home game against Memphis, which is tough to do against a good Memphis team that usually plays really good defense. So, DeMar Carroll, 3.9, sure. Shabazz Napier at 3.5K. He's played 25 and 24 minutes in his last 2. They moved Dinwiddie to the shooting guard spot. He has been starting at the 2. Napier's been kind of playing that role that Dinwiddie was playing off the bench for them, coming in and kind of playing the 2 guard and playing a little bit of point for giving DAR a little bit of a rest. Napier at 3.5. 23 and 33 fantasy points in those 2 games. So, kind of like a Burks there, He's kind of seeing the same amount of minutes, putting up the same amount of numbers. He has a little bit of upside, so especially in this spot. So, DAR, Allen, Carroll, and Napier is kind of where I'm looking at for Brooklyn. TT, Clarkson, Lance. Lance, if you want, Nance Jr. if you're feeling it, and Burks for Cleveland. That's kind of where I'm looking at there. Let's go ahead and move on over to Washington, traveling to New York to take on the Knicks. 228 on the total. Washington comes in as a 1.5-point road favorite. Not a lot to like, honestly. I think THJ is way too cheap at 6.9. I think this is going to be a breakout game for him. So I would be playing some THJ. Cantor at 6.6 just put up a dud in his last game. He should have a nice bounce back here. Put up 19 fantasy points last game. Excuse me. Obviously, we know Washington is still without Dwight Howard. They will be playing a lot of Markieff, which is if you've noticed, Markieff's price is now up to $6K. Yeah, well, we bought low on him enough. We were all over Markieff, so we got our run, fellas. But if Jeff Green is not playing tonight, if he does not play again, he sat out Saturday with a sore back. If he does not play, you have to play Markieff at $6K. I don't even care what is. I would probably play him closer to 7.5. Not that I love the spot, but he's going to get 40. He played 41 minutes last game without Jeff Green. Jeff Green is going to be the one that eats in his minutes. So if Jeff Green does play, I'll probably shy away from Markieff at 6K or 5.9 or whatever he is. I just don't think I can pay that kind of price for Markieff. Do I think he has value? A little bit, yeah. But his price is just up there, man. Wall, Bill, and Keefe is kind of what I was looking at for Washington. I don't believe Otto Porter is going to make my cut at 5.9. Him and Keefe are both the same price. I think this game is going to be all Wall and all Bill. Wall at 9.3, Bill at 7.9. That's kind of where I'm looking at for Washington. If you like Oubre, I think Oubre's fine coming off the bench. He's cheap, 4.4, I think, or 4.6. I'm fine with that. Like I said, be checking on Jeff Green. So for the Knicks, THJ at 6.9, absolutely. Cantor at 6.6, absolutely. Moutier at 5K put up 44.8 last game here a day or two ago against Milwaukee. Moutier is going to be the guy. If you have looked, Trey Burke is out. I would make sure that he is out again tonight before you lock him in. But Moutier at 5K, I don't think you can afford to pass that up, especially in this kind of a pace-up game with Washington here. It's a good spot. It's a good cheap point guard spot, especially for Moutier. Alonzo Trier at 3.8 obviously should see some extra minutes too there if he is out. So I wouldn't sleep on him as well. Like I said, pace-up matchup for good spot for guards against this Washington team. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. THJ, Cantor, Moutier, Trier for Washington, Wall, Bill, Keefe. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Moving right along, Denver and Toronto. Jesus. Denver at Toronto. There is no line on this game at the current moment. Not a whole lot to lock in this game. I think this game is going to be a defensive one. I don't think this total is going to be very big, even though Toronto has been playing with some pace. Waiting to see, obviously if Lowry's going to play. He sat out last game. So it's going to be an interesting one to see. But I think Jokic at 8.2 in this game is fair. hopefully he sees good amount of minutes, and we know that Toronto has not been as good against the center spot. They're not playing Val; they're playing Ibaka a lot, and I really do think that Jokic can have success against Ibaka. And I definitely will be looking at Jokic at 8.2. If I want to pay up for a center, I might have him in a lineup. So other than him, I'm probably going to be looking at Millsap at 6.3. The guy's been balling out lately, 43.8, 49.2 in his last 2 games. He's been playing very well. Not a huge fan of him because Siakam has actually been a really damn good player on both sides of the ball so far. I actually like Siakam a little bit tonight at 6K. Played 33 and 41 minutes in his last 2 at home. He put up 33 and 41 fantasy points in his last 2 at home. I like Siakam. He's been one of the more consistent guys for Toronto. I don't hate Kawhi if you want to pay up for Kawhi. I'm fine with that. Danny Green at 4.5K. He's put up 22.5, 31.3, and 20.8. I can't read. I can't read my own damn handwriting. 28.8, I think, in his last 3. So Danny Green's been playing very well. Gary Harris is back, though. Gary Harris, 5.1K, is another guy that I think you might be able to buy low on tonight. Played 36 minutes in his last game, put up 38.8 fantasy points. Is he back healthy? If any signs or indication, it seems like he's back. He's good. Hopefully no setbacks. We know with the ankles, we know how that gets. If you've ever had an ankle injury, you know that they linger. But Harris seems to be fine. He seems to be getting the minutes at 5.1K. I don't think you can afford to pass that up. That's just too cheap. So Gary Harris at 5.1, absolutely. So again, Millsap, Jokic, Harris. I think you can look at Plumlee at 3.9. He's been pretty decently consistent lately. Obviously for Toronto, I think Kawhi's fine. I think Siakam at 6K is pretty damn good. Danny Green at 4.5. I would make sure and check on Kyle Lowry, although I don't know if I'd play him or not. I don't really like either point guard in this matchup if they both go, which Jamal Murray should go. Either way, I don't know if I'll be playing Lowry or Jamal, even if Lowry does not play. I think Jamal Murray might be worth a look if Lowry doesn't play again, but I think Lowry probably will play. So let's move right along to the Clippers and the Pelicans of your stack chalk game of the night. This game is definitely going to be chalky. We already know that. I don't have to talk to you guys about this game very much because you already know. But I think you can really just play just about anybody in this game. Drew Holiday at 8.3. AD at 11.5, sure. Julius Randle, I think, is another decent power forward that you can look at in this game at 6.7. Tim Frazier at 4.7. The guy's price is steadily going up. But he's still getting 30-plus minutes. Just played 38 yesterday. Tim Frazier, it's a good spot. The Clippers have been getting demolished by point guards still lately. So Tim Frazier, 4.7, sure. For Clippers, Lou Williams at 4.9. Just put up a 33 or 36-point fantasy point game. So Lou Williams at 4.9, absolutely. Gallinari at 6.6. It looks like no Etuan Moore. He's out. I would check to make sure he is out again today, but I know he was last game or yesterday. Check on his status. But Gallinari at 6.6, I like that. Think he's a good mid-range, price guy. Believe they will have to deploy some Harrell at 7.6 and Tobias Harris at 8.1. Kind of the higher end prices there for the Clippers, but they should. This game is going to have crazy pace. It's the highest total on the board. You probably want to have some exposure to it. So I'm not going to go into great detail, but you guys already know, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. Houston at Minnesota. This game I'm not really too crazy about either. Houston comes in as a 2-point road favorite. Minnesota at 220 on the total. CP3 at 8K I think is fine. He's back healthy. It looks like he's playing good. I don't know if I'm going to pay for Harden at 11.3 or whatever he is with CP3 back on the road. I've went over this a million times before CP3 was out, but Harden just really hasn't top 55 or more fantasy points on the road with CP3. Let me reiterate, with CP3 in, but maybe like once or twice in like 8 games before. So I don't believe I'll be paying up for Harden. I think I'd rather pay up for AD in that spot or Curry. but or Kawhi even. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Those are going to be my top 3 guys probably. But for Houston and Minnesota, CP3 I think at 8K is fine. I don't believe I can play Capella at 8.6. Good Lord, man. I don't think he should be that high. I think his price is just way too up just because of his recent games. But other than that, Covington at 6.8 has been on fire lately. 44.3, 41.8, and 39 in his last 3 games. And that was against Boston, San Antonio, and Cleveland. Covington's been putting in work. So if you want to play Covington, I'm sure I'm fine with that. If you want to look at a cheapie, Taj Gibson at 4.3 I think is fine. If you want to look at a cheapie for Houston, I think Tucker at 4.4 is fine. If you want to play Derrick Rose at 6.2, I think it's fine. I don't think I'll be on Teague for CP3 reasons, and I don't believe that I will be on Wiggins because he sucks dick. So that's kind of where I'm at tonight, guys. That's all 7 games ran down. I didn't make a list of my favorites and my favorite punts and all that good stuff, but I will be in the Slack chat all day, mostly talking about it. So if you're not in there, get in there. And if you are in there, I will look forward to talking to you guys. So happy Monday. Have a good one.